Hello, everyone. I come here today with an announcement to make. I've been waiting on to make this announcement for a long time, but this week in throws is so back. We are back for season 2 of 2025's hottest new throws analysis show. We're a little late on this one because we've been waiting for the indoor season to get rolling a little bit. In some cases, which we'll talk about, the outdoor season's already rolling a little bit. But needless to say, 2026 is in full swing. Pros, collegiates are giving us a lot to talk about already at all levels of the sport. There's been some huge throws, there's been some really exciting competitions, and there's been some very interesting storylines building already into the World Indoor Championships, the NCAA Indoor Championships, and just 2026 as a whole. So it feels good to be back. It feels good to be holding this mic again, standing in front of this map. And I can't wait for 2026. It's going to be a good one. So let's get right into it. As of the evening of February 11th, 2026, the biggest throw in the world this season belongs to Rachel Richeson. Her weight season, just 3 meets, all in the Midwest, didn't have to stray too far from home, but she put out some historic markers. Her season went 25:38, 26 meters on the dot, and 25:94. That 26-meter throw, she joins Deanna Price as the only woman to ever throw the weight 26 meters, and she was just 2 centimeters off the world record. I know it's not exactly how things work, where if she throws that, she's obviously going to throw further sometime down the line. But if she were to go to the U.S. Indoor Championships, which she unfortunately is not, I don't see a world in which that world record is still standing afterwards. And last year, we saw Rachel have a really great indoor season. PB'd, won the U.S. national title in the weight throw. And then you move outdoors, and she opens at 78.80. So, and when I talked to her in December, it was really interesting talking about like how she's kind of marries the weight throw and the hammer throw, and what she kind of learns from how she's throwing the weight and how that can translate to the hammer. And she says her and her coach basically just treat the weight as a short hammer. And we saw how well that translated last year. And so if we can expect something like that again this year, there could be some very, very big marks in store for Rachel once she opens up this outdoor season. And excited does not begin to describe how I feel about that. I assume her outdoor opener is going to be at the USATF Long Throws Winter Nationals, which is a new meet started up the last weekend of March. And it's actually, I posted about this like a month ago. So follow Paulie Throws on Instagram if you aren't already. But basically, USATF has decided to allocate travel funds and prize money from the weight throw at US Indoors and move that into this new meet, the USATF Winter Long Throws Nationals, where discus, javelin, and hammer will be competing. The reason for that is they don't compete with the weight throw at World Indoors. The weight throw doesn't do anything for anyone's ranking points, and this new meet is a way that throwers can get another solid meet with solid ranking points domestically early on in the season. So overall, it's a good thing. The prize money is really solid. It's the same prize money as US Indoors, but everyone gets that instead of just the weight throwers. It sucks that the only reason we have something like this is because they're taking stuff away from the weight. Like, it would be nice if they could spend an extra like $20,000 or something to also fund the weight throw at US Indoors and have this meet, but it's kind of a situation we've gotten used to living in this space, unfortunately. So we do what we can, and that meet's going to be fun. I assume that is where Rachel is going to be opening up about 2 weeks earlier than she opened last year, which was in Ramona at the World Invitational. So that was a really long tangent to say that I'm very excited for when Rachel Richardson opens her outdoor season because I think that hammer is going to fly really, really far. Staying in the women's pro scene, we're going to shift to the shot put now. Oh, also, while we're on the weight, I should mention Erin Reese has also thrown very far this year. I believe she's thrown like 25-38, which is a little under her PB, I want to say, but still a very good marker as she moves into the outdoor season as well. And I think she's going to US Indoor, so she has opportunity to get another good one on the board, I hope. Moving into women's shot, pretty solid start already. Sarah Mitten. There's been a couple big European meets. Chase Jackson has competed over there. Yemi Ogunleye has competed over there a bunch already. Jessica Schilder as well. But Sarah Mitten has been staying close to home. She's competed twice in Canada already this year. And she's thrown 2027 and 2022. She's the only woman over 20 meters this year, and she is well over 20 meters. So it's still a month and a half out from World Indoors, so there's a lot more time for more people to kind of step it up and show some better form. But a Sarah three-peat at World Indoors feels pretty likely right now, to say the least. I mentioned Yemi Ogunleye, the Olympic champ, has been competing really well. 1986 and 1966, she threw on back-to-back days that indoor tour meets in Germany. So she's clearly, Yemi always throws really well in the indoor season and then steps it up in a championship setting. So she's setting herself up nicely for a good postseason, I guess, when she gets to indoor Germans and the world championships across the border in Poland. Jessica Schilder opened up really nicely. She's competed once, 1978. Chase Jackson, her opener was, I believe, 1894, I want to say, about a week ago. And she's been saying on Instagram that this is like the best fall she's ever had. So once she really gets that shot to start flying, I'm excited to see how that kind of turns out. I think that performance probably wasn't indicative of the form she's truly in and just kind of a rust buster. So excited to see what Chase has in the tank. As of right now, the top American in this indoor season is Abria Smith. And Abria is awesome. I was at the Tom Jones Memorial Meet last year in Gainesville where she threw 1892. I'm pretty sure that's what she threw. 1892, crazy mark, because she transferred to Illinois last year. Prior to that, she was at Howard, I believe, and she had never thrown over 17 meters, maybe even over 16 meters. Her progression has boggled my brain so much I can't remember the exact numbers. But then she gets to working with Coach J.C. Lambert, husband and coach of Deanna Price, who also trains at Illinois in Champaign, and they just got to work and just started making magic happen. And now Abria has broken 19 this year. She's gone 19-19 and 19-14. So she is the two best marks by any American woman this year. And a year ago today, she had broken 17 once in her life, I think. And now you look at where she is as a favorite to go to the World Indoor Championships and represent Team USA. Like, I think Chase, regardless of that opener, I mean, she still opened at 1894. So I think Chase is probably a pretty safe bet to make that team. But Abria, she just looks so good. And, when she had that throw at Tom Jones last year, there was a part of it that was like, maybe this is just a little fluky. Maybe it's just the best day of her life and it's harder to repeat. But then she threw almost just as well at NCAA Outdoors. She threw well at USA's, and she just kept that ball rolling. And clearly she's carried that into her first season as a pro. So very exciting stuff for Abria. Moving to the men's pro scene, the only really notable performance in the men's weight throw on that side is Daniel Reynolds, last year's NCAA champion, the two-turn demon out of Wyoming, went 25-59 at a meet in December. That moved him up to number 4 on the all-time list. So Daniel Reynolds is still just a monster when it comes to the weight. But that's, like I said, really kind of the only notable pro performance on the men's side in the weight. The shot put. Oh my, they have had a bit more notable performances. Last year was strangely a down year for the men's shot put. Um, the first man to break 22 meters all season, indoors or out, was Leo Fabry on June 8th, when he threw, I think, like 22:20 or something. That was the latest we had seen the first man to break the 22-meter barrier come in the season in almost 15 years. And so it was just like we've gotten just so high on our own supply when it comes to the men's shot in the era of Krauser and Kovacs and Walsh and Fabry and Otterdahl and Romani and all these guys that just make 22 look like child's play day in and day out, that it was kind of weird, like, what's happening? Maybe the later season played a part in that. But anyway, it obviously picked up by the end. We saw 5 guys go over 22 at pre. So things sorted themselves out, to say the least. This year, very clear we are not having any of those issues. Jordan Geist, about a week and a half ago, I believe, went 22:04 to become the first man over 22 this year. And then Leo Fabry went 22:05 at a meet in South Africa that I think might have not been on the World Athletics calendar because it's still not in their systems. Jordan Geist went 22:04 again, cementing his official world lead. And then today, Roger Steen went today, February 11th, as I've said before, Roger Steen went 22:07 in Belgrade to beat Jordan Geist, take that world lead from him, only for Leo Fabry, again down in South Africa where he's at his training camp right now, to go 22:50. Bang. That's huge. It's really, really encouraging, obviously. It's the coldest take ever to say it's encouraging to see someone throw 22:50 in mid-February. But that's still just crazy. Like, that's an insane mark. And Leo is, it's, if he does this, if he's doing this already, it's going to be hard to see anyone coming close to him at World Indoors. Like, obviously, Jordan is putting together a great season so far. I heard a clip of his coach, Ryan Whiting, talking with Joe Frontier of the Throw Big, Throw Far podcast, and I believe he said that they've dropped the hammer this year, which last year Jordan finished, I think, 8th at USA's in the hammer, was still throwing in the mid-70s with regularity whenever he would compete. A really good hammer thrower, but ultimately with the state of U.S. hammer throwing probably not at the point of making teams. So they decided to drop that, go all in on the shot put. And the early dividends of that are paying off big time. Roger Steen, so he threw, I think, 21:50 maybe. Or no. It was at Madrid, I think a week ago. You had an insane competition where Jordan Geist went 22:04, Rajendra Campbell went 21:94, and I think Roger Steen was at 21:88. And Roger, I told him congratulations after, and he said the big one's coming. And so I don't know if today going 22:07 classifies as the big one for him. It's a little bit off his PB. So that's just something to watch out for Roger as he continues to finish up at this. There's 2 more meets on the World Indoor Tour Gold, and then they're coming back home for USA's. So worth keeping an eye on what Roger's going to be doing there. And the indoor tour is actually really important right now for the Americans. With his win today, Jordan Geist moved ahead of Rajendra Campbell in there. And the reason why winning that indoor tour is important is because the winner of the tour gets a bye to World Championships. So if an American wins that, then America can take 3 men in the shot put to World Indoors. And so Roger Steen and Jordan Geist seem like a pretty solid 2 right now. But you've got Joe Kovacs waiting in the wings. Joe's only competed once so far this year at the Millrose Games. Really good opener, 21-21. And maybe it's just a matter of the fact that, Jordan and Roger have had more meets, more time to build momentum, show what they're kind of made of, while Joe's still kind of an unknown quantity at this point in the season. But if you're looking at 2026 in a vacuum, like, which I understand it's not obviously, but just looking at the performances right now, it's tough to see Joe finishing ahead of Roger or Jordan. Um, so that's something where, like, this is the first season that Joe Kovacs is seeing out a full indoor season. He's never done this before. He plans to go to World Indoors if he makes the team. But that is honestly kind of in jeopardy right now. So that's why it's so important if Jordan can win that World Indoor Tour, get that third spot, because let's be honest, global finals in the men's shot put are always better when there's more Americans than there's theoretically supposed to be, especially if that bonus American becomes Joe Kovacs, because that's going to be some pretty special stuff. Rajinder Campbell has been throwing really well. That's another reason why, like, it would suck if he. This is it, Rajinder. If you hear this, I promise it's nothing against you. But it would kind of suck if he won the indoor tour gold, because he's not going to World Indoors, so his bye would just kind of go to waste. Then I don't think that World Athletics would then pass it to whoever finished second on the tour. So that's why there's, on top of just being presumably really exciting competitions, I believe the last two on the World Indoor Tour, one of them is in Lieven, France, I think on the 19th, and then one of them is in Poland, I think on the 22nd of February. So with the indoor tour implications, there's a little bit of added intrigue to what would already be really, really exciting competitions. With all that out of the way, it's time to move down to the collegiate ranks, which I'm so excited to talk about because there is so much exciting stuff going on. We're going to start with the men, and we're going to start in the shot put, and we're going to start with the defending champ, Tarik Robinson O'Hagan, baby. 21-18 2 weeks ago. Lifetime best for Tarik, indoors or out. That is the best throw in the NCAA this season by 111 centimeters. Tarik has a meter plus lead on the rest of the NCAA midway through February. That's nuts. And he's competed 3 times. He has the 3 best marks in the country. He's also gone 20. Appears I did not write down his other 2 marks. I know one of them was 2076. I think the other one was 2038, maybe. Regardless, every time Tarik is stepping in the ring, he's producing something really, really big. And Tarik has just such a kind of like unique, always on mentality in the times that I've gotten to interview him and the little bit that I've got to know him. And the big thing he said at NCAA Indoors last year was that 70-foot barrier is still out there for him. And 21-18 is 69 feet and 6 inches. So he's inching closer and closer to that barrier. And I mean, he said his coach was infuriated with him last year. So if the Smiths are infuriated with you after a competition, I think you would want to do everything in your power to avoid that. So I'd expect very big things from Tarik. He's competing this weekend at the Tyson Invitational in Arkansas, and then I assume we'll just have SECs and NCAA Indoors back in Arkansas. So I'm excited to see what he's got in store the rest of the season. Cade Moran of Nebraska is the only other guy over 20 in the NCAA right now. He threw 20.07 at Nebraska's opener back in December, which we will talk about more when we get to the women's shot put. If you know, you know. Since then, he hasn't looked great, but clearly he's got 20 meters in him. He threw really well outdoors last season, so absolutely a contender. Oregon has a pretty insane 1-2 punch that Coach Blue's got working up there with Ben Smith, redshirt freshman, going 1982 2 weeks ago at the Razorback Invitational, and Kobe Lawrence going 1981, which I think is 5th and tied for 7th in the NCAA right now, I want to say. So both of those guys, pretty young. I think Kobe's a redshirt sophomore, Ben's a redshirt freshman, like I said, and they're putting together two really impressive seasons. That Oregon throws squad this year is so good. Like, I talked with Yorinda about it a little bit in my interview with Yorinda Van Klinken, world silver medalist in the women's discus, by the way. Check that out on the Paulie Throws podcast and YouTube channel, which you're already on. But just about how crazy good that Oregon squad is right now. And she only trains there for about 3 months out of the year in total when she goes over for training camps. But they've got Mikolas Alekna, Jada Ross, Ben Smith, Kobe Lawrence, Taylor Wiseman as a freshman who I believe won NXN in the discus last year or the year before. I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting. Their decathletes are really good. Peyton Bear's a pretty solid thrower. Yeah, I guarantee you there's people I'm forgetting, and that's pretty embarrassing, and I hope they don't get mad at me, but that squad they've got up in Eugene right now is pretty intimidating, and Ben and Kobe are great emblems of that. That's not the word I was looking for. Representatives. That is the word I was looking for. Great representatives of the green and gold. Jarno Van Dalen. All right, it's time for my Florida bias to slip in a little bit. Jarno Van Dalen opened at 1850. Pretty good. 5 fouls in that series. Didn't have a prayer of saving any of them, in the words of Coach Eric Werski, but really big throws on the ones that he fouled, like approaching 19 mid. 2 weeks later, at the Razorback Invitational, he goes 19-17. Really good throw, but he had on his 5th throw a foot foul just on the top of the toe board. Pretty minor. Coach Werski told me that was in the low to mid 20s, which would make him the second best in the NCAA right now. So we know he's good. He's a world junior champion. He threw 1954 with the 16-pound shot at like 18, I think, last year. So we know he's a freak. And once he gets one down, a really solid one that he can stay in the ring for, it's going to start getting scary season for the rest of the country, I think. Last guy in the NCAA men's shot put I'll touch on, Texas Tanner, 1983, tied for 3rd in the country right now. Also, in the weight, seamless segue. Thank you for helping me with that, Texas. He's only the second guy in the NCAA over 24 meters right now. He went 24-18, I believe, in his season opener, and has put together some pretty solid marks since then. The second guy over 24 meters right now, Ryan Johnson of Iowa, 24.99 last weekend. That's really, really far. 1 centimeter from becoming the 4th collegian to ever throw 25 meters with the weight. And Ryan, I talked to Ryan a little bit afterwards, and he said there was one throw, kind of a questionable foul call, maybe a little more than kind of, 25-50 plus, which is getting into NCAA record territory. And Ryan's just been putting big marks out there. The same thing Tarik's done in the shot, but Ryan's competed a lot more. His season looks like 24.99, best mark in the NCAA, 24.85, second best, 24.36, third best, 24.09, fifth best, 23.95, sixth best. The only guy breaking that up is Texas Tanner with the best throw of his life. And Ryan's just putting them out there every single time. He's really good. He's really good. He's like fully coming into his own this year, and it's going to be exciting to see what he's got building. This weekend, Tyson Invitational in Arkansas. I already talked about Tarik being in the shot. Jarno's going to be in the shot too there, so pretty exciting stuff. But in the weight, you've got Ryan Johnson versus Tarik Robinson O'Hagan. On paper right now, doesn't seem like that interesting of a matchup. Tarik's season's best is a very good 23.78, but I think that's like only 5th in the country right now. On paper, he's a full meter behind Ryan. But in case you don't know in case you aren't familiar with Tarik Robinson O'Hagan's game, he elevates. When the moment calls for it, he throws better. I know it's not a championship meet, but this is going to be a big kind of confidence builder before the NCAA championships. It also might kind of be in an awkward spot with like lifting cycles, with like being like a month out from the big meet. Not exactly sure about that. So I don't know how much we'll be able to glean from this weekend, but Tarik versus Ryan is going to be awesome. If Tarik doesn't throw a season's best, if Tarik doesn't break 24 for the first time this season, I'd be kind of astounded. So yeah, that's going to be a very exciting one. Let's move a little bit up to Virginia, at the University of Virginia, where Coach Brandon Amo has his guys firing on all cylinders. They sit 3rd, 6th, and 7th in the NCAA right now, led by Jeremiah Newby at 20. I didn't put any marks in here. Jeremiah's at 23 high. Nicholas Polycronu is right behind him, and Keandre Davis is the one sitting in 7th, bringing up the rear. Like, being 7th in the country and being the 3rd best guy on your team, that's got to be, I don't know how I'd feel about that. Because obviously, like, I feel like you'd like to be, like, the big dog in practice, but it's like you're also getting pushed at such a high level every single day when you come to the facility. And it's like, if anyone's going to beat you, maybe you'd want that to be your friends and teammates. I'm not sure. If you can't tell, I've never been an athlete at that level before, so I don't know how Keandre is feeling about that. It's just really cool regardless. They've got another guy, I think, over 70 feet, which I don't do feet to meters. Yes, I'm American. I went to American high schools, through in American high schools, but I always just thinking the only mark I know in feet is what was my former high school record. And I know my PB in feet and meters. This is a pointless tangent. The Virginia Cavaliers are really good in the men's weight throw. It's kind of frightening and ridiculously impressive. And it makes me think about what was it, 2018 at NCAA Outdoors, I think, where they finished 3rd in the men's team race with literally just throwers. If they can land 3 in the top 8 of the weight, could be on the way to something special. Adding Gary Martin in that distance squad, like, Virginia could be sneaky by the time we get to championship season. So keep an eye out on that. That ended up being, I think, way longer than it should have been. Anyway, moving into the women's weight throw now, just as dominant as Ryan Johnson has been on the men's side, Minnesota's Antoinette Nabwe has been just as dominant on the women's side. 24.28, best mark in the country. 23.74, second best mark in the country. 23.26, the 4th best mark in the country. She's almost 60 centimeters ahead of Texas's Giovanna Meeks, who's 2nd in the country right now. And I mean, Giovanna is dangerous. Like, she just threw that 2 weeks ago, improved, I think, like a meter or so off her season opener. And we saw what she was able to do last year at Cal. Her and Coach Mo, the move to Austin is working out pretty well for them. So when we finally get to see Antoinette and Giovanna line up against each other, I think that's going to be a really fun competition to watch. And for Antoinette, like, NCAAs did not go her way last year, despite coming in as one of the heavy favorites. When I talked with her coach, Peter Miller, last season in Ramona, which would have been when she was opening up her outdoor season, he talked about how she kind of just needed to step away a little bit after NCAA indoors last year and get a reset. So I'm sure something like that, the experience she had last year, is sort of sitting in the back of her mind, just like, I'm not going to let that happen again this year. And from everything she's shown already, she's not going to let that happen again this year, because Antoinette looks like a woman on a mission. Illinois, their duo of Jordan Koskandi and Fetesang Makethe, are 3rd and 5th in the country this year, 23-18 and 22-82 for the pair of them. Just like we saw with what Abria was able to do last year, Coach J.C. Lambert is really, really good at his job. He's got his ladies throwing really well. I believe they also have an athlete that's 10th in the NCAA right now. So that's kind of the Virginia of the women's side in the weight throw. And a final note on Wisconsin's Taylor Kesner, the surprise national champion from last year. She's currently 8th in the country at 22-25. And so she's over 2 meters behind the national leader. But it's not too dissimilar from the spot she was in last year. Last year, her PB was 22-37. She had thrown that earlier on in the season before going to NCAA indoors, and then she PB'd by over a meter to win the national title. Right now, we know what her PB is already, 23.50. Distance-wise, season's best-wise, she's in a pretty similar spot right now, like I said, at 22-25. So she's clutch. She takes advantage of when other people aren't clutch. So don't forget the champ. Don't forget the woman trying to defend her title when we line it up again in Arkansas next month. The women's shot, Axelina Johansson. I don't think I've talked about this yet on here, but in December, that same opener where Cade Moran threw 20.07, Axelina threw 19.72. Collegiate indoor record, moves to second on the all-time collegiate list, I believe, behind Jada Ross. I know Raven Saunders threw 1976 as a collegian. I think that was out of season, though. So if you're looking at all dates, I think Axelina's 3rd all-time. In collegiate competition, I believe she is 2nd ever. She hasn't competed since then, which I'm just waiting to see the encore to that performance. I wonder if she'll compete this weekend or if she's just waiting until Big Tens. But yeah, it's 1972 for an opener in December is not too shabby. She was the world leader for like a month and a half. And I don't see a world where she doesn't collect the repeat. But crazier things have happened. Crazy things like Jessica Oji being one of the best high school throwers ever and then just getting so much better and not taking any sort of adjustment time into the NCAA. Obviously, it's easier for women without needing to increase the weight of the implement, just sticking with the 4K. Not the 4K, the 8-pound. Wait, yes, the 4K, 8.8. Sorry, I'm getting myself confused. Women throw 4K, 8.8 pounds, Paul. That's why at the WSPS, Ryan Krauser dropped them down to 8 pounds, which is not 4K. Anyway, Jessica Oji's really good. 1845 and 1832 so far in her NCAA career. Both of those have been really impressive series. I saw her post something a couple days ago about throwing a practice PB as well. She's the Ivy League record holder multiple times over. She's one of the best freshmen in NCAA history. And she's 2nd in the NCAA right now, a couple weeks out from conference. Like, it's not early in the season anymore. And she is showing to be the clear number 2 behind Axelina Johansson. Very impressive stuff. Axelina's teammate, Mina DeClercq, is 3rd in the country right now at 1837. And then the other woman over 18 meters in the NCAA, Auburn's Megan Haig, who I want to give a shout out to because Megan Haig, also from Florida, as am I. She threw at the legendary Niceville High School. And we were in the same class. And I remember my senior year, like going through the TFERS pages because Florida uses TFERS for high school, which I don't think I haven't seen anywhere else in the country that does that. So that's kind of convenient. But I remember going through the TFERS lists all year, and Megan was just like top of 4A in the discus and the shot put, and also up there in the javelin too. And I'm like, this woman is insane. And so she's been putting together a very nice career for herself at Auburn. Kind of a breakthrough this year, breaking 18 for the first time. Like I said, she's sitting 4th in the NCAA right now at 1827. So congratulations to Megan. A D2 nod to Erica Beistel, the D2 GOAT, 1778 indoors to set a D2 record. This is a woman that's also a nearly 67-meter discus thrower. Crazy, crazy stuff. Moving back to the pro scene really quickly, there are two, this is all shot in weight so far, but there are two outdoor events that I want to give early season nods to. Celinda Morales, the world bronze medalist for Cuba in the women's discus, currently the world leader in the discus with her mark of 62.46, thrown on February 7th at a competition in Cuba. And also, Johannes Vetter has opened his season, ladies and gentlemen. 76.62 for him at a meet in Germany. Interesting competition where they were basically throwing from like a hangar or like a warehouse. And so the runway was like under this massive metal structure. And then they were just throwing into a field out like barn doors or something. Absolute life hack for outdoor competitions during the winter in Europe. Pretty consistent series for him. It's not the flashiest mark for a guy that's thrown 97 meters before, but he just hasn't competed like it all the last couple years. He's competed like once or twice a year. And so seeing him here, like 76 meters has honestly been kind of like the standard for him when he has competed the last couple years. So seeing him at this point, this early in the season, I'm going to let myself get excited. I'm going to start convincing myself that Johannes Vetter will be at the World Ultimate Championships come August or September or wherever they are. And we're going to have a full return to glory, and it's going to be amazing. Speaking of return to glories, that is all I've got for you guys today for this first episode of This Week in Throws of 2026. Hopefully, for the rest of the indoor season, there's a lot of catching up to do in this one. Hopefully, these won't be this long the next couple weeks until we get to the outdoor season, and I have twice as many events to talk about. But it felt good to be back here. Feels good to be yapping again, even if my throat is kind of tired because I've been faintly sick for like 3 weeks. But I do it for the love of the game, and I do it for you guys. And there's no other group of people I'd rather be doing this for. So that is all I've got today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the Instagram at Paulie Throws. Follow the Twitter at PHoffMahoney. You can find this also, Paulie Throws Podcast, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And also keep up with the Instagram and the YouTube Shorts for the Paulie Throws Fact of the Day. Fantastic idea by my girlfriend, Audrey Allen, that I've started. And it has been a challenge, but a very fun challenge. A fact and a thrower's birthday every single day of 2026. That's worth staying tuned in for. So for the third time, I think now, that's all I've got. And I will see you guys remember how this goes, next time.